This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yes, sir. What's happening, Mike? What have you been up to?
Busy as usual. Busy as usual, but can't complain, Ready for the Masters. It's Masters week.
What's going on at the Masters?
Depending on I haven't looked at the schedule yet. I got to check out the schedule. But depending on the schedule, it might be the best week in bowling for betting. It might be the best week in bowling for betting. I got to look at the schedule. Oh man, I wish I had a work from home job. I'm not going to lie. I wish I had a job where I could work from home on Thursday, Friday, have my screen open, have all the bets going on while I'm getting some work done. So yeah, it might be a little bit disappointing, but I can say that whenever I can get in, I'll be in. So I'm looking forward to it. It's Masters week. Love this tournament. This tournament has a deep history of amateurs and, sub-level, sub-professional level players making a run in this tournament, right? And the match play is just amazing with the 3-game matches. There's a lot of drama involved. And yeah, I'm excited for it. 2 TV shows, as Nico mentioned, Saturday and Sunday. So you got 2 shows to bet over the weekend. So yeah, I'm hyped up for Masters Week, especially after what I would say betting wise was somewhat of a disappointing World Series experience. I had high hopes going in, but the schedule and things that we discussed in the last episode kind of prevented things. So I'm looking forward to the Masters. But Rob, I was watching the NCAA tournament a little bit today. I just had it on in the background. I'll be honest. If the Peacocks ain't in it, I got no interest in it. But I just put it on in the background, and a commercial came on. And the commercial,
I've seen this,
was basically discouraging gamblers from DMing college athletes to ridicule them for their play because they lost a bet. And listen, I enjoy gambling as much as the next person on sports, but the thought has never even crossed my mind ever to text someone or DM someone over a performance in a sporting event that I bet on and I didn't like the outcome of. However, let me say this. Now that this idea has been put in my head, I got some texts for these PBA people that I'm betting and losing money on, Rob. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't be surprised if I pop up in some PBA players' DMs to complain about them missing a spare or choking in the 10th frame or giving up a 2-0 or 3-0 lead in match play. Okay, so I never thought of that before. I think if you do that, you're a sicko, especially with college athletes. You're just a sicko. Okay, stop it. But I got to be honest, a part of me understands it because when I heard that commercial today, I was like, man, do I have a couple text messages and DMs I could send to these PBA players about some issues I got with them. But just a thought to start the show.
It's crazy with the anonymous internet, right? Where you could send DMs and these DMs are brutal. Like they're not just like, hey, like you stink. They're like, I wish you would die, or like they like threaten and say the most craziest thing. It's if you do that, if you have like actually the just time and the just effort to go in someone's DMs and say something to that end, or it's like, dude, like you got some serious problems.
it's I mean, that's crazy. Like I said, the thought never crossed my mind, and I saw that commercial, and then it put that idea in my head, and I was like, oh well. I mean, I wouldn't do it to a college athlete, but to a professional bowler, I don't know. I don't know. Be on the lookout, fellas. I might have something dropping in your DMs soon enough. It's Masters week. I'm going to be putting in a lot of bets. There's going to be a lot of missed single pins that lead to less than 11 pin losses in a 3-game total wood match. And I'm sure that's going to infuriate me to no end. So, yeah.
So, real quick, though, on the Masters schedule, because you brought it up, today's the practice session. And if anybody saw the oil pattern, Mike, I think you would have been interested in that oil pattern. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I've never seen that before, but I could be wrong. Has anybody bowled on that? If anybody could give any kind of like down low on who's in the chat, or maybe they saw that from what the practice was today, I'd be curious to see if it's going to actually be any different than a lot of people throwing urethane and then end up lofting, which is normally ends up being. But schedule tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, all qualifying. Same format's always been 3 5-game blocks. And there's an A, B, and C squad. Be curious to see what squad equity looks like, because there's been a lot of drama, I think, in just squad equity lately. I've been hearing about how some players are, if you're on a certain squad, it's almost like you have some kind of advantage. But regardless, like, it's always been like this. There's 3 squads. They're bowling in Detroit in Thunder Bowl, if anybody's not wondering. That Thursday starts the match play. They'll be bowling the left side of the bracket in the morning, re-oiling then the right side of the bracket. And then that starts at 10 a.m., and that is East Coast time, so Eastern Standard. Okay, and then
so first round of match play is 10 a.m. Thursday.
Correct. Right.
But the bracket will be out, and hopefully Bet Rivers will have bets up by Wednesday night, you would think.
You would think. Yeah, that's 7 a.m. my time, by the way, Mike. So that's a little bit of a early betting time for me, but you know, I'll be working from home that Thursday.
But you also have, again, you have the advantage there of the night before. You're going to, you know, that block's going to end. They're going to post the matches.
Correct.
The bets are going to go up, and you will still have reasonable hours to look at it, take a look at what you like, you know.
Correct.
I mean, there's just so much to cook up with 32 matches going on for the first 2 rounds. Like,
yeah, you have to pick your spot.
Crazy. It's crazy. You know?
For sure going to have to pick spots, but the parlays will be juicy for sure, depending on how crazy you want to get. So they bowl 10 a.m. Then the next round of brackets is 12:30, which they bowl the left side of the bracket at 10 a.m. and then the right side is at 12:30.
Right.
And then at 5 p.m. is the 32 contenders match. And then they bowl, I believe, 2 rounds of 32 contenders.
Okay.
Friday, then it starts again 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So you have all day matches on Friday. Friday's a tougher day for me because I have to work. I'm not working from home, so I just have to put in bets in. I can't watch during work unless I want to get fired. And then Saturday is the first show. It's live on FS1 at noon. It's 4 contenders are bowling, 2 are eliminated on that show. So 4 contenders, 2 eliminated, 4 contenders, 2 eliminated. So it looks like there's going to be a total of 8 players bowling in that show, Mike, on FS1. And then Sunday at noon is the live Fox TV finals.
Hold on a minute. Those matches on that show, are they 3-game total wood?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It does not say on the brochure for the bowl on bowl.com.
Oh, we gotta find out.
You got to find out. Figuring if it's going to be a 2-hour show and they're bowling 2 matches, they're bowling a total of 4 matches, right? Because they have 8 players and 4 people got to get eliminated. So you got to figure it can't be 3 total games. It's just no way they could bowl 4 matches, 3 games, 12 games in 2 hours. right?
Unless they're
They're
all
bowling
bowling at the same
at the
time.
same time. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know what the exact format's going to look like, but that's what it says on the brochure. So
I mean, why couldn't they do a bowl TV style broadcast as a regular show?
dude,
Right? I mean that
I know. Yeah.
that would make a lot of sense to me. All right, so go ahead. So where are they going from there? Because this is a drastic change to the Masters format then.
Well, it
Because
depends.
normally they get down to just the contenders, right? You have the top two bowl the match to see who's going to be 1-2 on the show. And then to fill the other three spots, 3, 4, 5, they have that 3-game, all 4 guys bowl on the same pair, 3 games, and 1 guy is eliminated. Right? Are they not having that this year?
So the brochure says 4 contenders, 2 eliminated, 4 contenders, 2 eliminated.
All right, so that's
That's all
4
it says.
people.
4 people. And then it just says the finals are at noon. So there'll be 4 people in the finals on noon. I don't know how they're going to, are they doing a step ladder, but a 4-person step ladder?
Well, I know. Well, last year they already made the change where the number 1 seed had to lose twice.
Right. So
So that would make
what
sense if
it
they're
makes
doing a
sense.
4-person because they would need
Correct.
that time for the extra game.
Correct.
But what I'm trying to figure out is what about the top 2 seeds? So the top 2 seeds
Will be
then
the
get a bye
number
to
1, 2.
Sunday's show.
Would be the number
Yes.
one seed
Number
and the
1 and
number
number
2 seed.
2, and then
Correct.
2 out of the 8 players that are bowling the shows on Saturday, only 2 of them are going to remain.
Correct.
And those 2 are going to go to the show on Sunday.
I think so.
Okay.
Interesting though, and was my first time looking at it, and they didn't really give a whole lot of specifics on bowl.com of like how the show was going to be set up. I like your idea though about if you're going to have 4 total matches on FS1, like that would be pretty cool where you're going bouncing back and forth to the matches, and you have them bowling. I think that would be a very interesting style. They've done it before, right? It won't be the first time we've seen that on TV, but for the Masters, it would.
Yeah. That if that's what they're doing, I would totally be on board with that. I would try and make sure that I am absolutely home to watch that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But that's cool. All right, so that's kind of your betting schedule for the week.
Thursday will be the big day for me because I'll be working from home, like you said. And shout out to Bowl TV's app. If you haven't downloaded it on Amazon Prime Stick, I love it. It has been really a blessing for me in a way because I work in my kitchen. It's a long story, but my office is in my kitchen, and my TV is right here to the right. So all I do all day is just stream Bowl TV and have it on mute. So when I'm working, and then I could always just check out the bowling action on my TV. Prior to the app, I had to get a monitor set up with another laptop, and it wasn't a big screen, and I was kind of just trying to make it work. You know what I mean? But with the Bowl TV app, it's been great. It works great. I haven't had one issue with it.
No doubt. All right, so Rob, are we ready to roll into our tournament review for the World Championship?
Yes. No league review, huh? You didn't bowl league this past week?
Yeah, as I said, I think I'm bowling this week. I'm pretty sure. But then I'll be missing a couple weeks in a row again. Just, again, it's tryouts for soccer for my daughter. She's trying to find an opportunity to play at a little bit of a higher level next year. And this would really be the first time that she's dedicating herself to soccer. The first year she's doing that. Up to this point, she's competitive dance has been her main thing. So yeah, we kind of have to go to a bunch of tryouts and see what level she's at. See what she's is she ready to play here? Is she ready to play there? Like, what offers are we going to get? So I'm doing a lot of running around in that regard. For the last, I've been doing it for about 6 weeks already, and I probably got about another 4 to 5 weeks left. But listen, when we have more time, we'll discuss this during the summer. But and there's got to be people in the chat that agree with me on this who have kids. But youth sports in this country is out of control. It's out of control. I mean, it is so much different, Rob, than how it was when we were kids and just the whole landscape of everything. I'm just learning so much, and none of it's really good. And yeah,
I'd be more curious, and I don't want to get into this, right? But I'd be more
no,
curious too. I'd be more curious in your shoes. Somebody I don't think knows a lot about soccer, and you're trying to coach a kid. It'd be interesting. Like I remember, my dad wasn't a bowler. My dad never bowled,
I
right?
don't coach anything, but go ahead.
Yeah, but for me, it would be when I was growing up. My dad I would imagine him to go watch these bowling tournaments as somebody who doesn't bowl was really hard for him. So for me, if I have a kid who's in a sport that I know nothing about, like it would be hard for me. I would just kind of have to like rely on. Hopefully, you have good coaches that could coach your kid the actual way to play it. Because if they asked me for advice, I'd be like, I have no idea. Just like run and kick the ball into the goal. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't want to get into that, but I'm just
difference today. I'm just going to give you a quick answer. The difference today is that all the information is out there.
It's true.
You know, when your dad was in that position, there was nowhere you could really go to get all that information quickly and efficiently. But now,
wait. Yeah. But could you imagine all the bad information on YouTube? My dad would like watch someone's ball review video, and all of a sudden he's trying to like teach me how to bowl based on watching these terrible misinformation YouTube videos that are all over the internet.
Oh, I know all about it. My teammate on Tuesday nights, shout to Mike D. He watches way too many bad YouTube videos and comes in and tries to replicate what he sees. But all right, so on to our World Championship tournament review, right? So we already talked about the World Series Animal Pattern Championships. Okay, if you missed that, you can go back. We did a show on Thursday. Okay, this is actually our second show this week. Bonus sweep the rack for the people. You're welcome. So we did that already. We're going to skip over all that tonight. We're strictly doing World Championship, but we are going to do our patented, you won't see this anywhere else unless they're ripping us off, rundown of the tournament. Okay, and we will start with running the ladder of this World Championship step ladder. I thought it was a really good show for what it's worth, all across the board. Well, I guess we go match by match, right? First match, you had BJ Moore against Boog Kroll. Boog's reaction in that match did not ever look that solid to me. And I don't claim to be some kind of expert in bowling ball reaction, but it was just wiggling down lane a little bit too much for me right from the jump, right from the very early start of the match. Now, BJ Moore, I didn't like his reaction very much either, because he was sort of backing it into the hole and just stuffing them in there, just finding a way to keep the ball from going high. He wasn't really using a hook spot. It seemed to me like he was using a hold spot. And especially in today's day playing environment, you rarely see that. And I do not like to see that kind of reaction out of a player, right? But BJ Moore was able to hold on just enough in that match, and his look lasted just enough for him to outlast Boog in that match. I found the antics a little bit whatever. Like, I could kind of take them or leave them. I mean, you're losing the match. Like, pack your stuff and get off the approach. But I whatever. I'm not any kind of energy that a player tries to bring to the show. I'm not going to hate on that. I'm going to be a fan of that. But I just thought that the timing was a little bit awkward with the energy that he was trying to bring there near the end.
So, a funny situation about how and where I watched this show. So, Wick, I just want to give a quick background so people understand what I was doing. I was in a bar in Old Town, right? A sports bar. If anybody doesn't know, I've been to Scottsdale. I was in Barstool. They have a bar in Old Town, Scottsdale.
What's Old Town? Describe it to us a little bit.
College, okay. Arizona State.
Young people.
young.
Okay.
Only certain bars are a little bit older, but most of it is 21 to 30.
Are you the oldest guy in the bar?
No, but I would probably put myself in the top 10% to 15%, right? It is a strictly college, really, town, Arizona State bar area. And NCAA is on, right? So the bar is bumping. Okay. Bumping, games everywhere. Here I am with my phone and a stand in the back of my phone case, watching bowling at the bar and betting on it. And it was funny because my friend who was with me doesn't know anything about bowling. I kept saying to him during the whole show, yo, I need this guy to do something. Because I was putting bets in, and every time I told him I needed something, it didn't happen. All right. So I didn't get a chance to watch the matches with the sound on. So I had no commentary. I had zero, like it was me just watching it and just like doing my own essential commentary, right? I had a few people that stopped me because it was a busy bar and be like, what do you do? Like, why are you watching bowling? I'm like, I'm betting on this right now. Like, and you're like, get out of here. It's the same thing. I think you had that experience. Remember when you were at the casino a few weeks ago and the people were like, what are you doing? And it was just an interesting like situation that I was running into, but I wouldn't miss it.
Was there any way did you feel that you could have gotten bowling put on any TV, TV, a small TV in the corner? You didn't even ask?
Didn't ask.
You got to ask.
Because it's NCAA and there's a bunch of games going on. And the only TV I might have been able to get switched was like the PGA golf was on. They had that on. But there were people, Scottsdale's a huge golf town. There's a lot of people that are watching the golf, right? That are golfing and then go and get some drinks after. So there is no way they were going to. I would have loved to see the reaction of the people around that TV if they would have took off a game, even though that specific game was on 5 other TVs. Like if they would have flipped one of those TVs for bowling, the whole place might have like rioted, honestly. It would have been a good content for me to set up video and watch them do it. But I was just happy. I had it on my phone. It was streaming well. Needs a Kidney writes a bar fight would have ensued. Maybe I'd have been fighting everybody. I would have got my ass kicked. But anyway, so that was my situation. I do agree with you about Boog. I think he was using like a shiny stealth tour. It looked like, right?
Stealth mode, yeah.
Or stealth mode or whatever it is. And I tend to agree with you. I would have liked to see them maybe use something a little bit slower, right? Like a little bit more with some surface, but we're not ball reps. We don't know what's going on the lanes. We could just speculate, right? What, hindsight's 2020, right? Like, oh, you should have done this after the fact, right? But BJ Moore had a good reaction though too, and shouts to him. Didn't really show a whole lot of nerves either. He bowled really well that first game. I thought he would have been a little bit more nervous. I personally didn't bet on the first match. I don't ever like to bet on the first match. I just don't know what's going on with the lanes, the reactions. I feel like I'm just kind of betting blind.
I didn't bet at all on this show. I just didn't really feel like there was a great spot anywhere that I felt super confident about. And I was placing bets for a friend who was out of town. And yeah, they basically lost every bet they put in because I think it was just hard to get a feel for what was going to happen. So you go into that second game, and now you have BJ Moore against Tim Foy. And if there was any spot in the whole entire show that I felt really confident about,
was Foy.
It was Foy winning that game.
I made a mistake on my betting.
Okay.
Because I bet Foy, but I bet the over at 450.5.
Okay.
I thought the scores were going to stay high. I don't like to bet the over on the shows. So I lost that bet, but I knew Foy was going to win. I had a gut feeling. I should have just bet him to win outright and forgot the over and under. Mark in the chat.
Mark in the chat says, can we give a thumbs up and a shout out to Sweep the Rack fan Tim Foy? He's bowling great despite some tough shots and breaks and is going to win a PBA tournament soon. Keep the faith, Tim. Honestly, Rob, I thought he was going to win this PBA tournament for a game and a half. I really did. I thought, okay. So
yeah, he wins. It was a pretty BJ started to struggle.
Well,
I think
his look went away. right? That's why I said that in
right.
game one. Like I never really liked his look, and you kind of knew that if it just went a little high from where he was playing, it was probably going to spell disaster. And
Yeah.
yeah, it did. It did. It went away, and he didn't really have it anymore. And that gave Foy the ability to sort of, relax in the middle of the game, get up, make a few good shots. He did have that error towards the end of the game where he almost let BJ Moore back in it. But yeah, he was, able to hold on. You kind of knew that BJ Moore's look at that point wasn't going to be good enough to continue to strike or to go off the sheet from that point. So Foy gets the win there.
Question though, Mike, for you, do you? I tend to see that a lot these days on television show, where a lot of these matches or players specifically start out strong, and then they lose their look by middle of the game, and they just really could never get it back. You see that more? I feel like I see that more these days, and obviously the lights of the TVs and a lot of other things tend to change the lanes pretty quick, transitions quicker, right? There's a lot of different factors that make those TV pairs change quicker. But do you tend to see that? I've been seeing more and more of that.
Compared to when?
Compared to like pre-urethane days.
Certainly, no doubt. Compared to pre-urethane days. With that said, though, I think that we've also seen a lot of examples where guys are making deep runs into a ladder. That's happened a lot over the last couple of years, where a guy comes from the 4th or 5th seed and is able to win a few games, and whether they win the full title or not, they're able to keep that look going for a little while. But at the same time, I do agree with you that more often it's a situation where somebody has a good look and that goes away, and the next thing you know, they can barely hit the head pin. I would also say that aren't we in an era now, Rob, where especially guys like this are throwing a ball that is ultra specific for what they're bowling on, what the game plan is at that time. So I would feel like if you're throwing something that's ultra specific for your game plan at that time, if the lanes change, you're going to have to come up with a full new game plan rather than stick with that ball and try and manipulate it a little bit to work. And I could be wrong about that, but in my head, that's the way I would think about it.
So I wanted to bring this comment up. CLT 2244 feels like the increase in volume.
Center line transfer. Is that what CLT stands for? Center line transfer.
I like that.
No, is that
only smart people know that. Feels like the increase in volume forces people to use a lot more surface, so that moves and ball changes need to be done much more on the fly. I could see that. I also think that obviously when I say pre-urethane days, I say like new urethane days. Sorry, I'm not talking like pre-urethane days. We're not talking about the 80s here. I just want to be specific because people get crazy. My brother, what's up, Jeff? Bowling balls are way more tailored for specific lane conditions than they were 20 years ago. So that's what my point is.
Yeah, and Jeff, on top of that, I'd like to add that at this level, at the PBA level, not only is that true about the balls, I believe what you're saying, but now you're going to have a specific layout, and it might be something that's outside the box of your normal standard stuff, specifically for that pattern on that pair with this lane and this pattern. So yeah, I do believe that probably contributes. I also want to bring up this comment from Charlie Tapp. What's up, Charlie? Friend of the show. BJ's Friday night finish was class. It was. I mean, if you watch that, it was great. They were tough. They were demanding, and he had to get up and throw a double and 9. And yeah, he got it done, man. It was some impressive bowling.
So I have a question onto that point about the bowling balls being more tailored for the specific lane conditions. You would think that at this point, right, the pros would be maybe try to be a step ahead of those transitions instead of like maybe understand and identify when they're starting to lose their look and make quicker, bigger type changes in the middle of the game, instead of just struggling, especially if they're down in the match, right? I think BJ, when he started struggling and losing his reaction, was down already like 30, right? In like the sixth or seventh frame. So if you're in that area of like the match where you're down 30, it's the seventh frame, and you know your ball motion isn't looking great, I would expect to start seeing like more dramatic type adjustments, right? Ball changes, bigger moves, and at least try something where maybe you could find something really quick and maybe strike out to force your opponent to do something instead of just kind of keeping the same ball and just struggling the rest of the match, and then you never have a chance. Am I wrong in that?
I mean, again, I don't have the technical expertise to say for sure, but I would think that you're somewhat on the mark there.
Yeah, I would just think that they're at that level now where they just make a huge ball change and just move like a zone and try to, like, you're already down 30 at this point, right? And your opponent looks to be have a good look. I understand if it's a close match within like 10, even 20, and you don't want to like make a big drastic change, but
See that's the snake bitten nature of the 1 game matches too, right? Because if you ain't in the right ball from the start and you have an early open or two and you can't string a couple strikes together and your opponent does, you're done, right? I mean,
right.
unless they give you a way back in, you're pretty much done. And and on top of them giving you a way back in, you also have to make the right guess about what you're going to go to. And that's not always easy either. Sometimes you're going to guess wrong, and it's going to take you a few more frames to figure it out. Or if you're me, it could take you 2.5 games, but nonetheless. So all right, so Foy wins that match, right?
He does.
Going into the next match, I really felt I felt like it was Foy's time.
And I bet on him. I bet on him.
I didn't bet on him, but
I did.
I hear you. I felt like, nah, he's gonna win this match. He's already beaten Belmo a few times. I don't think he's scared of these guys. I definitely don't think he's gonna back down. And yeah, to his credit, he didn't. He bowled a
So
great game against the best right now.
so 2 points to this match. Tim was plus 200 before this match. Give me that all day, every day, and I will bet Tim, right? Bowling EJ after coming off what seemed to be a pretty good game, throwing it good, a lot of confidence. You're bowling EJ, who is tired, exhausted, a lot of games, right? And just it's hard to just come in right on the TV show and start bowling well. Even if that with that experience, it's still a hard thing to do. So I took Tim, right? Loved Tim. I just took him outright at plus 200. I stayed away from the over and under. Had no ideas what the scores were going to look like. There was just obviously three huge moments in this match. People seem to want to talk about the Brooklyn that EJ threw to win, but nobody remembers the fourth strike in the fourth frame that he threw, that he went dead through the face on a strike that put him a double, right? If he doesn't throw that, he probably loses, or if he splits, or 3-6-9-10s, or because the way EJ throws it in his rev rate and he goes through the nose, he's has a history of leaving big splits, right? So he breaks up the split, strikes one moment in the match, right? Second moment is obviously Foy's huge split in the like 7 for 8 frame where he threw 5. Because he was ahead, he was comfortable, everything looked to be going his way, and then he just kind of made a mistake. He cut it short, and on that demanding pattern, it's going to cost you.
I feel like it was that, but as things progressed, I also felt like that lane happened to be transitioning at that same time. I'm not saying he threw his best shot when he left that split, but I don't think it was a bad enough shot that he should have gotten 5.
Right.
And I don't think that earlier in the game or in the previous game, had he thrown that same shot, he would have gotten 5. And then EJ struggled with that lane the rest of the time too. And that's what led me to believe, like, well, that lane must be getting a little funky. if these guys are all of a sudden like losing whatever room they felt they had on that lane. I just, I don't know if you're saying that the crossover shouldn't be talked about.
Oh, it'll be. But I'm saying is there was 2 moments before that. But the moment why bowling is funny sometimes, right? Is EJ throws it in the fourth frame, he goes dead through the face, he strikes, and then Tim goes dead through the face and leaves a 5, right? So that's just how the breaks are, right? And there's no rhyme or reason to why that happens. It's obviously the way the ball's coming through the nose, it affects just good breaks, bad breaks, whatever. Those were 2 moments in the match, and obviously the bigger moment where everybody's talking about is the EJ Brooklyn to win the match. Now betting on Tim, I mean, it could have been me essentially losing the match bowling. How I reacted when he threw it, I wasn't exactly the happiest person at Barstool.
You're in the middle of the bar screaming and hollering. No one knows what you're screaming and hollering about.
I was, but everyone screams and hollers at that bar because people are betting everything everywhere. So it's not out of the norm for someone to just start yelling randomly curses. Obviously, nobody knew what I was yelling about, but I was. And of course, my friend who's with me has really no idea what happened. And I tried to give a basketball comparison of that. And my comparison was, Mike, is imagine being down 2 points and the opposite team throws up a 3-pointer and he banks it off the backboard and you lose by a point. That was my comparison. I was like, he just threw it up and it hit the backboard and it went in and you lost. That's exactly what I just dealt with on a betting comparison to bowling.
Yeah, listen, terrible way to lose.
Oh,
if you're
heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Can I give out an award right now? I know we're not at the awards, but can I
Sure.
give one out right now?
Sure.
I'm not riding with Tim Foy.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, we got much love for you over here at Sweep the Rack. Friend of the show. He's been on, etc. We talked all season about how impressed we've been with his performances, and he's a dog. But I ain't riding with him on this one because that's going to be a bad car ride, bro. That's a tough one. You go up against Tacket and you put him in that position and he makes an errant shot, a poor shot in that position and still escapes. And you're left asking yourself, what if, for a really long time.
It's funny.
That stinks.
It's funny because I'm going to give my award because I actually want to ride with Tim Foy. That was my ride with.
Okay.
Just because of how great he's been bowling this year. I mean, yes, it's going to be one of those to think about, like shots and moments that he'll remember the rest of his career. I just think he's been bowling great. The guy we had him on, the way he's bowling right now, he's making a career for himself. He took the opportunity, Mike, that he got from his exemption, and he's riding with it. And
you really think that's going to be a good ride, though? I mean, that's going to be a quiet ride, bro.
I'm going to have to probably talk him down off the ledge.
I mean, that's going to be a quiet ride, bro.
It is, but I would like to ride with him because I would like to be like his
sports psychologist.
Yes, like support him through this tragedy.
I ain't here to be a sports psychologist when it comes to crossovers and bad beats. I ain't into it. I mean, you just got to get over it, move on.
And he handled it with grace. He did. He handled it.
He did. He handled it more than well, right?
And you know what even bothers me more, Mike, is when your opponent apologizes for it. Like that just is like salt in the wound. And I understand why EJ would have said that. I've done it in my life where I've crossed over and beat someone, and that's your first I'm sorry, I didn't. Those are the breaks of bowling, and it does hurt though when they apologize because you're just like, oh, they're being nice about it too, and you're like, oh my god, what a stinger that is. Yeah.
So, tough loss for Foy.
Oh, brutal.
But listen, I think Tim Foy knows that what I'm saying is the case, and it's no disrespect to him. But we get the matchup that everybody wanted anyway. Tim Foy was on the verge of actually ruining what everybody wanted. Right? Everybody wanted the Belmo EJ matchup. I mean, that's what you tune in for, right? That's what you want to see. The best right now against the guy who's probably the best ever, and they're both at least somewhere. One's in their prime, no question, and the other one is still close enough to his prime that Mans has a lot left in the gas tank. And I was really excited to see this match, and I was I was somewhat surprised that Belmo came out playing them the way he did,
Mm.
because what he was doing seemed very similar to me to what BJ Moore was trying to do, and I really didn't like it that much. I didn't have that much confidence in it. I would say that it looked like Belmo had a little bit more room to get the ball to tilt up as opposed to kind of playing the hold. But then what happens? Right at a key time in the match, he misses just a little bit right, and it didn't even look like that bad of a shot. It really didn't look like that bad of a shot, but the ball just never read, and it just keeps going. And what did he leave, the 2-8-10 or just the 2-10?
He
I think it
left.
was just the 2-10, right?
Yeah, he left a 210, but I mean, you could also think it didn't look like it was tighter, but maybe his ball was burning up too. Like,
Could be, could be. I did not have a lot of confidence in the way he was attacking the lane in that particular game.
I don't want to question the GOAT, right, and
No,
say
no,
what
not
he
at
should
all.
have done, but I
But
am,
I'm going
but
to question the GOAT
I'm gonna
and
question.
talk about what he should have done.
Right. Well, that's what we're here for, right? Um, I would have liked to see him doing what Tim Foy was doing, and I would have liked to seen him try to loft a little bit and like put a little bit of more side rotation on it, so that when he missed right, his ball wouldn't burn up, and because I think that's what Tim was doing, and I also didn't like EJ's look, right? So I bet on Belmo, right? So I was pushing all the right buttons, right, yesterday. But I that was a reason for me, is because I just didn't like EJ's look. He went Brooklyn to win. He was throwing some shots that were like, oh man, that could be big splits. I felt like it was gonna be but a tough game for him. But what EJ did, doing EJ things, EJ moved a bunch left, right? And he found that little shim, I think, where he didn't have it from the game prior. And with EJ's, the way he rotates off his hand, I think helped him a lot in this match. Belmo, on the other hand, I think was a little bit too forward or end over end on his roll, was causing his ball to burn up when he missed right. So I would have liked to see EJ try. I'd like to see Belmo try to loft it a little bit and give it a little bit of more side roll to try to open up the inside of the lane like EJ was doing. That's all, man. That's all I'm saying.
You say that Belmo's going to bowl EJ in the final match of a stepladder. Who do you expect to be playing further left on the lane?
I mean, history, you expect Belmo.
Okay.
But the way EJ, I mean, one-handed, his rev rate seems just as high as Belmo's these days.
Yeah, but I think it comes down to the idea of loft, and it comes
Right.
down to the idea
Right.
that it's a little easier to loft it as a two-hander and get further left if you want to. And that was probably, what surprised me about what went on in this match, is that Belmo decided to play further right than EJ. And you just, if you follow the PBA tour and you listen to Bowl TV, I mean, they almost talk about, if somebody's playing left of you, it's basically like a death sentence, is the way that they talk about it. Like at this level, like if somebody's playing left of you, you might as well just abandon your game plan and do whatever you have to do to get left of them, and then force them to get left of you, and then get left of them again. And like, to see him come out and be playing further right of EJ, it was definitely something that I took note of. I didn't necessarily understand the strategy behind that game plan.
Here's my other question about the match, Mike. This is just throwing this out there. Was this also an instance where motive and their new ball that EJ seems to really like, that Evoke, whatever it's called, the new one, was it just also an instance of just the ball just being a better ball than what Belmo was throwing? I think he was throwing that attention star, I believe. Because that motive ball looks actually
That
really
ball
good in
does look
EJ's
good.
hand.
That ball does look good. You know, I
The
don't even
Evoke
like their
hysteria.
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't
So,
even like their stuff. But that ball looks like it might be a must drill. You know,
well, the thing about
to quote
this
the
type,
to quote the Patch Pirates, to quote the Ball Review Patch Pirates. Sorry.
the interesting thing about the Evoke hysteria, though, is that could this be the ball that replaces the Venom Shock? Because this is a
Nothing can replace the Venom Shock.
well, I mean, like today though, like now, because this is a tournament that usually, like when it gets to the left, or EJ's throwing that Venom Shock, but you see him more and more throwing that Evoke hysteria now. So in my head, like, is this a ball that EJ just is eventually just gonna phase out the Venom Shock with? You know, because the ball looks great, and it definitely looked like it outperformed Belmo, right? And what Belmo was throwing. So M2 visuals, hysteria is stronger and asymmetrical, shock is cleaner. So yeah, shock is symmetrical, I believe. So yeah, I wouldn't replace it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it replacing EJ's favorite ball in the bag, this Evoke hysteria, as he keeps throwing it.
CLT says Motive actually looked like they had the best equipment all tour season. I don't know. You agree? You fully agree with that? I mean, I guess the results speak to that.
Well, I think we've talked about this weeks ago, that their pros have been forced to not exactly have the best urethane balls on the market. So their pros have been forced to actually get their performance to work a little bit. So is that helping these pros that they're not handcuffed by urethane? Because urethane has only looked good on certain patterns and maybe a couple of games here and there, but is the bowlers, have they been just now being just taught to throw performance better because they have to?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Kevin says Matt Russo would disagree. I mean, he misses his urethane, believe me.
So Belmo, because of some struggles on EJ's part later in the game, is able to stay in it, right? And he's able to do enough. I mean, off of a really fortunate break in the 10th frame. I think it was the 10th frame. Did he trip that 4-7-10? Was that the 10th frame or was it the 9th frame? I believe it was the 10th
what,
frame.
EJ? No, EJ.
No, Belmo.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I was too busy. I was too busy crying from all of my losses.
Tim Foy's in the chat. We were just talking, Tim, on whether the ride to the next event for you will be a positive ride or a negative ride. Rob said he wants to ride with you. I said I'm not riding with you. Probably need some quiet time. So safe travels. We hope you're in Detroit. And great bowling, man. Great bowling all season, but tough luck, bro.
I wanted to be
on a crossover like that. Oh
I wanted to be your sports psychologist. I wanted you to like just vent it all to me. But you know what, man? Just keep putting yourself in that position on TV, and the breaks are gonna go your way. You just keep putting yourself in that position, bro, and you'll be fine.
Okay, so it was the 9th frame, I believe, right, where Belmo goes up, and he needed the hit to force EJ to double in the 10th, and he tripped that 4-7.
I remember that. Yeah,
right?
He got crazy too.
Yeah, because he didn't expect to strike.
No.
He did not expect to strike on that shot, and we got really fortunate, and you get a situation that you just love where you got the GOAT testing the king and saying, go ahead, get up. You want it? Get up and throw 2 for it. And you know what? To EJ's credit, he threw 2 of the best shots that you could throw under the pressure in that situation. He deserved to win. I mean, this guy is dominating on levels that we rarely see in this game, and it's cool to watch. It's been cool to watch him come up through the game, period. But yeah, 3 in a row, man. Super impressive. And not only 3 world championships in a row, but 3 player of the years in a row. Because let's be clear, with this win, he locked up player of the year as well.
Crazy. this early too. I mean, so let me throw this out there, Mike. EJ won a title this week at a major. He did the same thing last year at the World Series. He won a title and he won the World. If the tour continues in this current way we are with all the tournaments, how it is, and the exact, I won't say exact same, but you know what I mean, like tournament-wise, a number of tournaments every year. Where do you think EJ lands after his career is over? Like after his PBA national tour, not 50, is, let's just say, if he stays healthy and he bowls until usually what, let's just say Bill right now is 43. Bill's still bowling at a high level. So you got to assume that when they start kind of declining a little bit, I think is when they start reaching in that high 40s to 50 area, right? Is when you start seeing EJ still got maybe a good 15 years in front of him, right?
Yeah, but hold on a minute. Like, how many titles did a Walter Ray or a Pete Weber or Parker Bone win from the time they were 40 and above, right? Or even 45 and above. I think if you say 45 and above, that number becomes somewhat small. So I don't, I wouldn't stretch. You got to look at like the last maybe, like I said, from 40 to 50, where he's not going to be winning anywhere near the same rate that he's winning at now, you would imagine, right?
Correct. I agree with that. So let's just say, how old is he right now?
I don't know. You got to look it up. Somebody's got to look it up. I don't know how old he is off the top of my head. Somebody look it up. How old is he?
I'm looking right now. He's 32 years. He's born 92.
All right. He's 32 years old. So he's got, let's say, 10 years left. Okay. 10 solid, almost prime years left, right? Where when he's after that 10-year period, his win rate is very likely to slow down going forward. Probably still will have a few titles left in the tank from that 42 to 50 age range. And how many titles is he at right now? 26?
27, I think. The 26 was his previous title, and then the World Championships was 27.
Wow, is this true? Did Walter Ray really win 8 titles in 2 majors over 45?
He was a great older bowler.
I agree, but I mean, that seems like a lot. And if that's the case, can we go year by year? Was that all when he was like 45, 46? Did he win any of those when he was 47, 48, 49, 50? I know he did win at least one in those last few years. I remember that. But yeah, I'd have to do some deep research on all this. But it's within reach, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely within reach. I think it's also within reach because, and this is sad to say, but like there's just less and less top level talent to stop somebody like him. Right.
So he has currently, if anybody's wondering, 27 PBA titles and 7 majors. Okay. Which shows you, though, how crazy of an amount of majors Belmo won. Because Belmo's at currently 15 majors. So EJ's not even halfway there. It just shows you how dominant Belmo was, right?
Yeah, well, I would say Belmo was particularly dominant in the majors, right? I mean, he won the Masters 3 times in a row. Won the World Championship several times, like EJ's doing now. I gotta say, I thought about this before we came on the air. Like, who wants a piece of EJ Tacket in this tournament this week? I mean, my goodness, like, are any of us going to be surprised if that number clicks up another major after this week? I wouldn't be surprised at all. Who can beat him? Who can beat him in a 3-game match? I don't know, man.
This is the format to do it, though. If there's any format where EJ is going to have a hard time, is going to be the Masters format, because it's ultimately still a 3-game match. So if you get the wrong bowler at the wrong time, you're gonna like, you could lose. If it's a total pinfall tournament, I would say EJ, you probably almost lock on a TV show at this point.
Jared in the chat says Pete had 2 majors and 1 title after 45. So okay, all right. So I mean, like I said, guys like that are amongst the best ever. They're going to have gas left in the tank towards that
So
45 to 50 range.
okay,
I just don't think you're going to be winning
wait.
at the same rate that you're winning in your prime.
Wait. So we can't compare Pete Weber with anybody, okay, after 45, okay?
Why?
Because the tour in the 70s and the 80s was a whole nother experience for some of these guys that there was a lot more stops, there was a lot more drinking, there was probably some more recreational drug use, I would imagine, right? So that tends to speed up a little bit of the aging process as a bowler, right? Like, let's just say it like that, right? Let's put it nicely. EJ has his head on straight, and I think it's a matter of, physically staying able to do what he can do with all that rev rate and how he throws the ball. I don't know if that's gonna take a toll on him when he's in his 40s, right? Because it's that the way his style is you put a lot of pressure on a lot of different areas of your body when you're bowling.
I think it's within reach, though, and I gotta say, and someone just pointed this out in the chat. Just the fact that he's like, even in the discussion to get close to these types of title records is it's sick, because the guys that he's competing against for that record probably bowled 2, if not 3 times as many tournaments as he did to get the titles they have. And I mean, my goodness, if they were having 30 tournaments a year now, could you imagine? And the bulk of them back then were total pins tournaments with 24 games of match play and all. Could you imagine what he would be doing? Rob, he'd be unbeatable. He might be like the top seed for like the vast majority of events.
At this point,
it would be just sick. It would be like we've never seen before. So it's cool to watch as a fan. And that's just my big takeaway. I really liked watching that match between him and Belmo. And listen, Belmo is absolutely one of the goats. It's arguable that he is the goat. I think there's other people in that conversation like Walter Ray, but I definitely felt after this show that Belmo has absolutely lost that sense of invincibility. Especially to his top competition, which is EJ Tacket.
well, he hasn't won a single title in 2 years, right?
I know there was a time where you couldn't imagine him being surpassed as the main player out there, right? But now that EJ has surpassed him, it definitely looks like EJ is not questioning it at all. And again, that air of invincibility, or that feeling that Belmo is always going to find a way to get it done no matter the circumstance, is not necessarily there.
What are your arguments to people who say that it's, and I've seen this argument and I've seen this comment too by some of the pros out there that are blaming the way that the oil patterns are for EJ's dominance?
No, I mean, we've talked about this at length. I don't think that there's enough variety. I think that they often end up playing the lanes the same way no matter what the pattern is. Even if they start with urethane and only lasts for a few games, and they end up moving left and banging it right and banging on it, and you better have 500 rev rate and be able to do something close to what he does, or you're probably not going to have all that much of a chance. So yeah, I don't. If that's the argument, if that's the direction people want to go in, I have no problem with going in that direction and trying to create more parity with the lane patterns and force these guys to do different things on the lane for longer periods of time than what we've seen recently. But with that said, I think the guy would still be dominant. He can do it all. If you watch, he can do it all. He can play straight. He can get in. He can loft it. He can lay it down early. He's a good spare shooter. Like he does it all. So I don't think it would drastically affect things.
Tim writes the tournament with the most variety EJ won. I mean, there's no doubt, right? Like the kid is he's on a different planet right now than everybody else. My brother wants to know, I'm curious your thoughts here, Mike. What do you guys think of Belmo's quote, I want to be the best ever and win 20 majors? I think it's possible. I think he could do it. I mean, he showed right now that he's still there, right? He's was a few bad shots for winning a major, another one. I think with EJ lurking, probably not even lurking, but dominating at this point, it seems like there's one way through a major, and it's through EJ. And let's just forget about. I mean, Simonson's been having a really bad year, and I really blame it to his injury. I don't think he'll ever be completely healed from his back injury. He's probably going to need to take a lot of time off. But when Simonson's healthy too, he's normally has his name in the hat too on these majors. So let's not forget about him. So Belmo's his road to 5 more majors is a very, very hard one.
He's going to get his opportunities. But again, what I just said, like that feeling that he's always going to get it done regardless of the circumstance, I don't feel is there anymore. And I don't think that other players are, as intimidated by that aura of, man, this guy just isn't going to lose. So yeah, it was an interesting comment. I and we've talked about this before. Again, I mean, we've been doing this podcast for almost 6 years now, so I feel like we talked about a lot of things. But why the moving of the goalpost on what the greatest is? Why is it now just majors? For decades and decades, it was overall titles. When Walter Ray Williams was chasing down Earl Anthony, that was the focus of the entire bowling world, as he approached that record, because that was what you had to do to claim to be the greatest of all time. And I definitely feel like we have moved the goalpost a bit. And I'm not saying that I'm not okay with it. I understand that there is increased value in the number of majors you win versus the number of titles you win. But there's also history here, folks. Okay, there's also history here. And I don't want to be so fast to just throw the history of the game and how these things were looked at for decades and decades out the window. And again, can go on and on about this. The other side of the argument is, well, there's not as many tournaments today, so we need a different measuring stick, and the majors is the best way to do it. Okay, I hear you on that. But maybe we need to look at it sort of as two different eras. The pre 30 tournament era and the post 30 tournament era. Is there any question that Belmo is the best bowler in the post 30 tournament era? No, there's no question about that. Maybe EJ is creating a question about that currently, but up to this point, there's really been no question about that. But do I think that Belmo can win 20 majors and claim himself the greatest of all time? No, I'll be honest with you, I don't, because I care about the titles record. And I think that's an important distinction. Again, I'm willing to hear the other side of the argument. I understand that there's not as many tournaments. I understand that trying to hold EJ or Belmo or anyone for that matter to a standard of, hey, you have to reach that number regardless of the number of tournaments is somewhat wrong. I get that. But it's a more nuanced conversation to me than just, oh, you win the mid number of majors or you win the most majors and you're the best of all time.
Well, I call it the Tiger effect. I think Tiger Woods and golf was the first, that's where the majors, and that's why the goalposts moved from the Tiger.
But it's always no. Hold on, you're wrong. I think it's always been that way in golf. Nicholas and Arnold Palmer and great golfers that came before Tiger they were measured by the number of Masters and U.S. Opens and majors that they won, right? And I feel like golf had been that way for a long time. Bowling was not like that. Bowling was total number of titles.
Yeah, but I'm just using Tiger as an example because people really started to pay attention to golf when Tiger came in.
Yeah, no, this is true. This is true. I hear you.
So, all
But
right.
I'm just not okay with just saying, okay, yeah, that's done.
So back to the original question, though. 27 PBA titles. If the tour continues where it's at, just doing the same tournaments and all that stuff, I do think that EJ, gets close to Walter's titles. I do, and majors. I think, could he surpass Belmo's 15 majors if Belmo stays at 15 majors? I don't think it's that far out of a reality. I think he could do it.
Okay. Are you ready to do our awards?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Where you want to go first?
Well, we talked about riding with. So
okay. All right.
You're not riding with Tim Foy. I'm riding with Tim Foy. We've already given our answers. Who are you riding with?
To me, there's really only one answer here to this one. It's EJ Tacket, bro. Who else you want to ride with? I mean, Mans is on top of the bowling world right now. He made every show. He made every show. And won a title and a major, wrapped up his third player of the year. Yo, 120,000 richer in the pocket. You know you're eating well. You're stopping at numerous good restaurants on the way to the next place. It's going to be a wonderful celebration.
Just had a baby.
So much good to talk about. Just had a bit. Listen, if you're EJ Tacket, bro, life is good.
Life is good.
Okay?
Eating
life
good.
Is good, bro. Life is really good. And I'm riding with him on that. I am.
I did find it curious that I didn't see Natalie at the World Championship show.
She was there. I thought I caught her in the crowd, yeah.
Okay, but I was going to say it was interesting to me that he won the title, the only show where Natalie wasn't on prior to the World Championship. So if you're Natalie going, man, am I just like clouding my husband being at these shows? And then the one time I don't show up, he wins. You know, she's got to be like asking him that. But that's kind of funny. I'll tell you who I'm not riding with, Mike. Okay, because I'm afraid I'm going to yell and scream at him. It's Jesper Svensson. Okay, he was in the top.
You got a thing for Jesper right now.
He was in the top 5 all World Championship, right? And then fell out of the show. He just, I mean, he's been close, but he can't put it together when he needs to. And I will never bet on him ever.
He's on your no bet list.
He's on there's a few players I have on my no bet list. And just like I won't bet against Tim Foy in match play, that's my other rule. Like I have a few rules when now I'm betting on bowling, and I won't bet on Jesper and I won't bet against him bowling matches. I won't.
Robert Hamilton says he's riding with any of the international players. All right, I like that pick, but some of them just have a terrible commute, Robert. I mean, I'm not with these 17-hour flights, bro. You feel me?
What would you even talk about on a 17-hour flight with these international players?
Bowling.
No, do you have a translator? I mean, some of them do speak good English.
We can find common ground in the language of bowling, I feel like.
I'd be asking them why they're not showing any emotion on the shows. You know,
James Ellingsworth says Tim Foy is my guy. Let's go, Tim. I guess he's riding with Tim Foy. Anybody else in the chat? Feel free to join in our picks here. Let us know who your picks are. All right, Rob, who we going with next?
I see you, Hoss.
This is easy. There's a lot of great choices here. I'll say that
there is. I got to give ICU Hoss to Ethan Fiore. Making top 16 of the World Championship.
Tip my cap, bro.
This kid just kind of came out of nowhere in a sense, right? I mean, at least in our eyes as fans. I know a lot of people probably know who he is. from their hometowns or their areas where he is. Like we hear a lot of comments of that in general. Like, hey, yeah, we know Ethan, but as a PBA fan watching, we didn't really get to really see Ethan Fiore until obviously the roll off with EJ Tackett, and then making the top 16. Making the top 16 world championship to me shows that this kid can play, right? We already knew that, but it wasn't like he just made one show and then kind of finished in the middle of the standings. Making it to the top 16 is a huge accomplishment with the tournaments, all of it, and yeah, great game. Love his style. Look forward to seeing him.
So I was obviously gonna pick Ethan Fiore. I think that's the best pick. I think he's super deserving of that. Agree with everything you said. So I'll just make a different pick here because I think this is also a good one. Wei Song Darren Ong. I see you, Hoss. I see you, Wei Song Darren Ong.
I like it.
Are we gonna see Wei Song Darren Ong full time on the tour next year? Maybe that would be cool to see how that pans out. You know, my man has a classic style one-handed game and came out here and put the wackadoodle on these dudes. Okay? He put the wackadoodle on these dudes this week. All right? Multiple 300s, a title, makes the top 16 of the world championship. He's out here. Okay? He wants all the smoke. And I'm with it. I'm here for it. You know, and I'm interested to see where that goes in the future.
Agreed. Definitely. All right, let's go dumpster diving. Love our dumpster diving. This was a long scroll down the bottom of the list here
because there was a lot of possibilities here too.
201 players, and I hate to do this to my boy. I
gotta say, this is like the world championship of dumpster diving too, right? If you win a dumpster diving gold medal here, you have won the world championship of dumpster diving because it's crazy amount of games, a whole week of bowling, numerous patterns. Like in order to win this award this week, you really got a bowl bag. So congratulations. Go ahead, Rob.
I want to apologize to my guy.
I know who you're giving it to.
I have to apologize. Lumber already hit it in the chat.
Oh my God.
My guy, my fellow college bowling, my friend Ronnie Russell. Dude, I hate to do this to you, but 189th place with a 196 average, and he was the first name that I knew who was a full-time player when I started from 201. So he finished 189th. That's where he is, and I have to give him that award, Mike.
You love giving him that award. You give it to him all the time. He's another guy you're continuously banging on, bro.
Look at that's not a bang. I'm not banging.
I hear you. I understand. He puts himself in that position, but you can pick somebody else once in a while for crying out loud. I mean,
after 189th, the only other player that I saw that I would think about giving it to, that's a full-time like pro that I really like is out there. Like you still have to go even in like the 150s, like a Kevin Williams or a Brad Miller. And Brad Miller, I don't think is even full-time out there, right? So Kevin Williams probably. I'm curious to who you gave it to.
Well, I was gonna give it to
Ronnie,
to YouTube sensation Forrest Kritzer.
I don't know who that is.
He's one of these YouTube guys. He's always putting out the YouTube videos. He does a lot of stuff with the 220 average bowler guy. And he features his wife in a lot of his videos. And I'll give man some credit. He does throw it pretty good, and I've seen that he's had some success at the regional level. And I didn't see any videos he put out leading up to this, so I wasn't even really aware that he was bowling it. But
at least he went and bowled, Mike. I mean,
I don't.
You see a lot of YouTube people out there that are making videos that wouldn't even think about showing up to the World Series.
Showing up and bowling. I hear you. I just think that you got to, especially if you're a YouTube person, you're going to be putting content out around this. Yeah, you got to be, you got to be fighting. You got to be fighting to get out of the basement as much as you can. You have to, because people are looking, people are watching. Not going to be the best content if you're struggling like that and you're bringing up the bottom of the pack. But I'm going to give it to. That's not who I'm going to give it to. I was going to give it to him, but I decided to.
Oh, he got honorable mention.
He did. He gets honorable mention. He's got a lot of subscribers. So hey, if you're one of his subscribers and you're here because we're saying this, don't be afraid to subscribe. But nonetheless, I'm going to give it to, because I always think like, man, it must be brutal to like prepare for this tournament, travel halfway around the world, and get here and just get your brain stomped in. So when I look at dumpster diving gold medal for the World Series, I always think to myself, who looks like they traveled the furthest to take the biggest ass whooping. So I'm going to give it to international player Hiroki Takata from Osaka, Japan. Okay, he finished in 179th. That's a long way to travel to catch an ass whooping like that for a week. So, Hiroki, congratulations. At least you can say you were recognized in some way this week.
Yeah, Robert Hamilton, what's up, man? I saw you commented on your Brooklyn. You beat me winning juniors. I'm glad you found that funny. I personally don't. He writes, I feel bad for Darren Tang. He was putting way too much pressure on himself. He was explaining in his vlogs.
Well, can I say something about that? All right. And I like Darren Tang. He seems like a wonderful dude.
I've talked to him numerous times when I see him. I want to get him back on the show, actually.
I enjoy his content. They've been on the show before. I enjoy his content. I watch it. I like it.
Smart kid, too.
But really, though, because I got to be honest with you, I think he made a dumb decision in this instance of what I'm going to talk about.
About him going two-handed?
It's just the timing of it.
Oh.
It's just the timing of it. Like, what? Like, all right, if you're going to do that, you have to make that change immediately when the previous tour season is over. Okay? And then you got to put in ridiculous amount of work leading up to the next tour season to get yourself as ready as possible. You got to bowl regionals two-handed. You got to go out and just put in the work two-handed, right? To me, viewing his vlogs and stuff, and I know that, you're viewing things from an outside perspective, but it seems like he made this switch too late, right? And he was on the border between one-handed and two-handed at one point, and then he made the switch. And listen, Darren Tang was a hell of a one-handed bowler, especially when urethane was in play, which it is still to a major degree, right? I would say probably even more so than last season. I just think he would have been better off bowling this season one-handed, doing the best he could, even if that meant that, he felt like he had a diminished chance to win. I think it would have given him a better chance to stay in it. And I think going two-handed and really, not being ready to have the level of execution that you need at this level to be two-handed is just, I don't know, it just seems in retrospect like a bad decision.
Yeah, especially with exemptions on the line now. I think too is a huge risk to switch. And it's hard switching from one-handed to two-handed. I've tried it. And you're 100% right. You need to put in the games. I mean, because think about how many games you have as a one-handed player up until this point in your career. I mean, thousands of games starting when you were a youth bowler, right? And all of a sudden, you going to two-handed, it's very, very different on your body. So you need hundreds of games, like a day. No, sorry, a day. Like a week. You got to put in the time and the work. It's hard. If anybody's tried it, I would recommend try it, and for you to understand yourself how hard it is to do, because it is very hard. But I agree. All right, Mike, let's get through these because we still got to do worst of the week, and let's talk about the Heat. Okay, this is a very interesting conversation for me here because I have EJ Tacket for both who took the heat and who didn't take the heat. Okay. And the reason why I put him there for who didn't take the heat is when he threw the Brooklyn to win. Okay. For me, that was just a bad shot in a big spot. And he lucked out going Brooklyn, right? Because it was a bad shot. And I also gave who took the heat. I gave that to BJ Moore for that double 9 to make it onto the show, right? I mean, 2 of the best shots you've seen out of him. So those were my 2 awards. They were quick, but that's the first time I've given an award to the same person because he threw a double to win a major. EJ did, and he also threw a really bad shot to win. So
it's hard to hate on a guy when he throws a double to win a major. But not only did he cross over to win, but he also threw some errant shots that gave away titles earlier in the week. And I'm kind of considering that in this award because I feel like this is this award session is a full week award session. I'm gonna handle the heat to Andrew Anderson. Okay. Because I watched a significant amount this week, and there were a lot of spots where he had to get up and throw a shot to win a match. Just keep performing, keep himself in it, and I just thought he did an excellent job with that this week. So I would give him that award. I would give not handling the heat, and I know this sounds crazy, but I would probably give it to EJ Tacket. Because I feel like, Rob, he could have walked out of this week winning 4 of 5 titles, bro. A few more shots. If he makes like 3 less errant shots, he probably wins 4 of the 5 titles that were available this week. And that's just sick.
crazy.
And yeah, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that the old EJ Tacket is back, but just to think about those few errant shots and what could have been is just crazy to think about. So I would have, from the fan perspective, from the historical perspective, I would have loved if EJ would have just handled those few instances just a little bit differently, and we could have been looking at something just that we would never see before.
Gotcha. All right, Mike. I think last award, spare shooter.
Did we do I See You, Hoss? We did I See You, Hoss.
We did.
Yes, we did. Okay.
So I have an interesting.
I got to give it to Tom Smallwood. That's who I would give it to.
Okay.
I mean, to me, he probably missed the biggest spare. Missing it early in the game and kind of setting himself up to be behind for most of the game was not real good. But I'll say that the spare shooting wasn't too bad this week on the shows.
I have an interesting pick.
Yeah, Lumberflexual says insane amount of single pins on the 5 missed on the 5 shows this last week. What am I not remembering? What am I not remembering? I'm not recalling a lot of missed single pins.
I have an interesting spare shooter award.
Okay.
You really had to be watching this week. There was one match where Ben Robinson was bowling Jason Belmonte on Shark. I don't know if anybody saw this match, but I remember watching this match, and Ben Johnson had Belmo on the ropes in this match. And Ben Robinson missed, I believe in 2 games, he missed 3 single pin spares and let Belmonte back in, and Belmonte ultimately beat him, I believe, in 5. If you're bowling the arguable GOAT and you have him on the ropes, you can't miss 3 single pin spares. Anybody knows that? Remember my match with Robert Smith? I missed too many spares and I kept him around, and what ended up happening? He beat me in 5. You can't let these guys at this level, you can't let them even have any kind of hope, because once they find it, it's like they're very hard to beat, and that's what happened. So just because I remember this specific match, I need to give it to Ben Robinson. If anybody doesn't know, go back and watch that match on Bowl TV and then tell me I'm not wrong.
So Foy missed a single pin on TV. Boarding missed a single pin on TV. Rasmus missed at least two. Tarzan the Great is saying, okay. Yeah, I remember some of those. I would also say Boardings was probably a pretty big spot too, especially since he ends up losing to Rasmus and Rasmus goes on to win. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I guess there's not a lack of people to call out for the single pin misses then.
Yeah. All right, Mike. I think we're good, right? Tournament review. Look forward to the Masters. You want to get worst of the week so we can get out of here?
Let's do it. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. CLT in the chat writes, did EJ miss a makeable on any show? And I don't recall him missing any spares, makeable spares.
I think McCune missed one too, yeah, and I don't think EJ missed any on the shows.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive for all the shows that he made and all the games. So this is the first time in Worst of the Week history, Mike, that the person that I'm giving Worst of the Week seems to be really excited about it. I don't know. Roger's in the chat. Roger Welton posted on our Sweep the Rack group Facebook a picture of EJ Tacket on a milk carton after he lost, I believe, the third show. I don't remember what that was. And he seems to be really wanting the Worst of the Week award, is looking forward to getting the Worst of the Week award. But anybody who puts EJ Tacket on a milk carton, who made every show and ended up winning one title, two titles, one being a major, I don't know or understand why he'd be missing in action, but that's pretty much the opposite of the milk carton is what EJ did this week. And you are not getting a Worst of the Week shirt. I don't think we have them yet, so stop asking for one.
He was called out by all kinds of people on the Facebook post too.
Yeah, it almost felt like a troll job to a certain extent, Roger. I'm not sure if that's what you were trying to do, but you are going to win Worst of the Week. You're not getting a shirt. I'm not giving shirts to everybody who win Worst of the Week. But man, what a just not a very good meme. It aged horribly, and you deserve every bit of the business that comes to you in your way.
That's a way to treat our fans, Rob. Great. So my Worst of the Week this week comes from the Motive Bowling page.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
They're on a high note, right?
Yeah, they're on a high note. I'm trying to bring Patrick Gigstad. Congratulations, Patrick. You've won Worst of the Week. Okay. Here's his post. Who else thinks Randy Peterson shouldn't call bowling on TV as long as he's a Storm staffer? Everything he says about any other company is always a backhanded compliment. Like he's on the show now, acting like EJ is the only reason Motive is leading the manufacturer's points, when 4 or 5 of the guys on the show last night had M's on their chest. I don't know. I got several issues with this post. Number one, and no one will be surprised I'm saying this, it sounds very patch piratey. It does. It sounds very, very patch piratey. The whole M's on their chest. Oh, 5 guys made the show with M's on their chest. And it sounds very patch piratey to me, so it caught my attention. Secondly, does Randy give backhanded compliments to other I don't think he does. I think sometimes he might give a little more information on the Storm balls than he does on some of the other ones, or have a little more insight into why a guy is switching to a particular ball from Storm as opposed to another ball from another company. But I don't think he gives backhanded compliments. And third, EJ Tacket is the main reason that Motive's winning the ball company challenge. You dope. I mean, look at the results. I understand there's other guys from Motive that have had good performances, but my goodness, it's not hard to be leading the ball company challenge when your main guy wins every other event.
So I have a few thoughts here. One, I don't really care about the bull manufacturing challenge. I'm just going to be really honest. I don't care about any of that. When I'll watch the shows, but it's three ball companies, right? It's Brunswick, Motive, and Storm. Okay, forget all the brands. It's three companies. Just call it what it is, and it's dumb, straight out. It's dumb, right? I rather them try to do something different with the league. I don't want to get into that, but it's dumb. I don't care. The other thought, though, I do have, I could agree though with this gentleman in the sense that being on a ball staff and being an announcer could create an agenda and a bias in a certain way, and fans who know that he's on Storm staff could look at it that way. I always talk about other like podcasts and other content you find on the internet, and I always tell the people, and I always give this message: is make sure you understand like where their points of view are coming from on the balls they're reviewing, on their Facebook posts, right? There's always a reason behind their posts, and you have to start asking where it's coming from and what are they getting out of it. So anyway, yeah, I could understand why, though, there could be interpretation of that because he is on staff. I'm not saying he is because I don't see it, but I could understand like where they're getting really offended on their patch pirate hood.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Right, let's do it.
All right, Rob, I don't have too much to say. Final thoughts, just Masters Week gambling.
What do you think about Mookie buying into the World Bowling League or whatever it is? I honestly, I didn't even pay attention
a little bit about
it.
But if you remember, we did a little story about that World Bowling League thing. It's like they're trying to make like $1 million prizes, and they were making all these promises and stuff. But what I still am at the same place. Like until we see something develop with that, what does it mean? It's not really that meaningful unless something's actually going to develop from it. But yeah, just to me, it's just Masters Week. 2 shows. Betting on match play Thursday, Friday. So everybody enjoy it. Enjoy the bowling this week. You got any final thoughts for us, Rob?
Yeah. I do like the fact that Mookie wants to get more involved in bowling, though. That's the one good thing about it. And I would really be surprised at this point if Tom Clark or Bolero hasn't had any conversations with Mookie about being more involved on the business side of it.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Of course they would want somebody like him involved. Anybody would want a person of his profile status involved in whatever they're doing. But to me, when you're at the level that he's at, you're not really looking to be a part of something. You're looking to be the owner of something, right? So, to me, involvement with the PBA Tour would probably come down to could there be a possibility that he ends up as the owner of the PBA Tour? That's more the capacity that I would look at him being involved in that. But that would be great. I mean, we need something.
Yeah,
we need something. But
definitely. And hey,
that'll be a later conversation. Get your merch.
Here's my third shirt. So yeah, the dry fit, right? And you have the little logo on the left patch. The dry fit hoodie, and then you have your regular. I got a red. So go to insidebowling.com, content creator, and then sweep the rack link, and use Patch Pirate as your code for 15% off. The shirts are great, Mike. I love these shirts. They feel great. I'm not just saying that. I swear to you. I could wear these every day.
Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate the chat. Always have fun with you guys. Like, subscribe, do all that, help us out. We will be back, I'm assuming, Rob, next Sunday.
Yeah, because the Masters is on, right?
Masters wrapping on Sunday, so we'll likely be on Sunday night. Join us next Sunday. And you guys have an amazing week. All right. We'll see you next Sunday after the Masters show.
Appreciate everybody.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.